My name is Robert Bell. I am the Executive Director of World Teleport Association. I'm very pleased to welcome you to our webinar, AI in the Teleport, the next bubble or the next great innovation. If you're not familiar with the World Teleport Association, we've been around since 1985, which is a very long, it's almost like 3 lifetimes in the satellite industry today. We exist to advocate for the commercial interests of teleport operators, both those independents and the ones who are also running space segment, but most importantly, to promote excellence in their operations, in their technology, in their business practices. And today's webinar is based upon our report, AI in the Teleport, which is one part of a very long-running series of reports in which we talk to our member operators and member technology providers and satellite operators to find out what's actually going on in the marketplace, as opposed to what sometimes you may be reading in the press. This webinar, like all of them at the moment, are part of a program we call the Technology Advisory Board. And we formed this a few years ago because technology has always been important to our business, but it has become critical now as we're going through periods of massive change from everything, including, of course, the company that Mr. Musk founded, which is changing so many things for so many of us. So that board meets periodically to give us basically guidance on what are the technology advances that are going to matter most to the people in the marketplace who have to actually deliver services over satellite and multipath networks. And that membership in that tech advisory board is open to leader and patron corporate members of our association. Currently, they are Comtech, Hughes, Kratos, Network Innovations Advanced Networks, and Nexat. And we're very proud to have them all with us and to have a couple of their members with us here on this. So today's agenda is simple enough. After this introduction, I'm going to share with you some key takeaways from the report itself. You'll also find a copy of that, the executive summary of that report, in the Zoom chat, so you can simply click on that and download it. And then we'll follow that with a discussion with the people who are the real experts in this field. And finally, I would be remiss if I did not thank 4 companies for their additional financial support for WTA, which makes possible our reports as well as our webinars. They are the Eutelsat Group, now Eutelsat OneWeb, Intelsat, Kratos Defense and Space, and SES. And we're very, very grateful to them for their continuing support for our efforts. The takeaways from the report. We did interviews with a significant number of executives at teleport firms, as well as satellite operators and some of their technology partners, to find out where are we in AI. It's so incredibly hyped that it can be very difficult to tell out what's actually going on in the marketplace. So what we found as of the publication of this report is that adoption is happening in this sector, which has not always been the first to adopt new technologies. So far, it's concentrated in areas that have found success elsewhere in other industries, automating the marketing and customer service function, right? Because you can produce a lot of better engagement with your customer, as well as lower costs for doing so through that automation. And teleport operators are also exploring its uses for some of the other areas where AI is beginning to prove useful: code development, cybersecurity analysis. And all of the executives who spoke to us who are doing something active in AI all feel that there's a great deal of potential ahead of them. It's also, interestingly enough, creating new services, both services that the teleport industry can provide, but also services the teleport industry can use. So there are new vendors springing up to offer, for example, hyper-accurate weather forecasting, which is so important to continuity of service. AI-enhanced operations and network design is an emerging area, as well as advances in data compression. So it is an area that's really on the move. As with every new technology, you have a buy or build decision, and what we're seeing so far is that teleport operators and satellite operators are building their own unique systems for things like code development, cybersecurity, network design, enhanced operations, because they have literally at this point decades of experience with machine learning, which is the fundamental underpinning of generative AI. But when it comes to doing something like marketing or customer service automation, there seem to be products on the shelf for these kind of business standard services, and they're taking advantage of that. As always, with artificial intelligence and actually machine learning itself, it is all about the quality and the quantity of data that you can put into the learning process for it. Now, that data is available because of the long-running use of automated systems for trouble ticketing. But formatting it, that is not a simple matter. It's time consuming, it's costly, but of course it produces results if you do it right. The cheaper and faster solution is to, have a third party do it for you, but that definitely raises issues of data security. So our teleport operators report trying to balance those two potential negatives in the most effective way possible. And finally, my favorite one, which is, we're not selling AI. None of the operators we spoke to, in fact, they expressed themselves rather strongly about this, that they're not going to their customers and saying, I have a great AI functionality for you. Instead, what they're doing is using AI to improve the services that the customers actually want. In fact, one of our respondents was quoted as saying, my customers aren't impressed by AI. What they are impressed by are new services and operational and cost improvements that I can deliver because I'm investing in this. So I thought those were excellent words to live by as we contemplate what's going to happen next with generative AI in our industry. So it is my pleasure now to introduce our panelists, as I say, the real experts in this. They include Frank Zullo, who is president of Network Innovations Advanced Networks, also a member of our Technology Advisory Board, and welcome, Frank. Michelle Dothey, who is Chief Commercial Officer at Nexsat, also a member of our Technology Advisory Board. Very pleased to welcome Cynthia Hardy, Senior Vice President of Corporate Strategy for ST Engineering iDirect. I believe, Cynthia, this is your first time joining one of our webinars, so welcome very much. And Alvaro Sanchez, a very well-known gentleman in our industry, the CEO of Integrasys, which itself has been working in the whole area of machine learning and AI for quite some time. Welcome to all of you. I'd like to start by asking each of you to describe how you and your company relate to this topic of AI and the teleport. And I guess I'll take you in order. Frank, would you prepare to kick us off, please?
Sure. It's actually great to be on this panel because I have a number of people that are key vendors to us in this regard. So as always, I'm gonna have it from the service integrator side of things. In our case, as we look at the convergence between, say, SATCOM, terrestrial, what have you, the idea of scheduling, the idea of multiple service, the idea of our links are not going out as single teleports anymore, but rather the teleports are being chosen by the nature of the links, using an AI, and in our case, more accurately ML, is key in determining where and how our services are used. In the other side of it is we also have the market has a unique capability in the fact that as more and more satellites are going in the sky, as LEOs, MEOs, GEOs are up there, the monitoring and the tracking of that activity is becoming a product in itself. And the idea of I'll probably talk later about this, but where we have customers who are looking for space intelligence, for regulatory, for a number of different things. And when you start correlating thousands and thousands of thousands of little data points, AI is a must now for speed and function. So it's really being embedded in our service offerings, but it's also being embedded very much in our operational capability. Again, speed to market. It's all about speed to market, and AI helps us in that regard.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Frank. Michelle, your company is a software company, so I imagine you have something to say about this. And by the way, Frank, I'm glad we put some of your customers on this panel. We aim to please at WTA.
Okay. Thank you, Robert. In fact, we are a software company, and we are now marketing our OSS BSS platform. It's cloud-based, and of course, as you know, OSS BSS in a certain way is a conversions point for all the things happening in a teleport. And now, okay, we are of course, developing some new ideas, and we are currently investigating different paths for artificial intelligence. Then typically the first thing and the most easy thing is to develop a chatbot for our customer support. Then this is something that it's not very complicated, and it's all already improving a lot and reducing, of course, cost, because support 24 hours a day, 7 days a week is a cost. And of course, if you can improve the quality, because with this kind of chatbot, you can have any all the languages are possible, and this open a lot of new opportunities, and it's make things much easier for our customers. Then this is a good point. Then we are also developing a pre-sales bot where, in fact, we help customers to select the best connectivity solution depending on their requirement, as well as defining backup solutions if needed, because if they need to have high availability, they need to also to have a primary solution and also a backup solution. Then we are also investigating for the surveillance of our infrastructure, because we have different POP in the world. We have VPN connectivity, so we have a quite complex network. And of course, in order to prevent incident proactively, we need to have we have a lot of parameters, a lot of measurement, and artificial intelligence could be very helpful in that area. And also ticketing analysis, because our platform, we have a ticketing system, and the analysis of the tickets is also something that gives some interesting information. We are looking also for dynamic network optimization.
I just want to interrupt you because I don't want you to
sorry.
use it all up on the first question. You know, you gotta...
Okay, sorry.
No, I wouldn't.
Okay.
Thank you, because I mean, you gave some great specific examples, and very often we talk about
Yeah.
we just wave our hands and say, oh, you know, it's that magic thing. So
No, but it's not magic, but it can be, yes, indeed helpful in different areas. And this is what we are investigating now in order to have these solutions and this improvement available for our customers.
that's what it's all about. Cynthia, welcome. As I said, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Hey, Robert.
Remotely at least, but please, if you could tell us a little bit about AI and how your work at your company is relating to it.
Yes, of course. So I think first I'll answer from an external perspective, meaning our product and market. Our primary driver for AI is automation. As the industry becomes more complex with software-defined satellites, dynamic payloads, multi-orbit, virtualized networks, and the list can go on and on. Our goal for our customers that use our ground segment platforms is to manage that complexity by leveraging AI to automate and optimize network processes and performance. So we look at specific use cases of anomaly detection, real-time predictive data analytics, network optimization, dynamic service, as well as resource orchestration. That's where we feel we can add the greatest value to our customers. Now, internally, we, of course, also utilize machine learning and AI in some of the areas that you referenced to start, right? Customer service. We've deployed Microsoft Copilot internally. We look at our system and test automation utilizing anomaly detection as we test code. So I think as I go throughout the session, I'll probably address many questions twofold: what we put in product to go to market and how we may be using machine learning and AI internally.
It's like it's infiltrating almost every part of your operations.
It is, absolutely.
Alvaro, you have been in the automation business of things that were manual for decades. for a while now. So where do you fit into this AI landscape?
So one nice story about this is that a few years back I was a professor on um, uh, um, it was a degree on AI, and I was doing how to business, or I was reviewing business plans on how to make AI a business. So it's very, very nice to see AI becoming a reality, becoming a lot of business related. And actually, some of the students joined the companies and developed the products. So it has been a very, very nice experience in that regard, personal. In the company wise, we provide a lot of analytics, a lot of results, and a lot of um, information data that is obtained through AI engines. We have invested in a lot of talent that can build those systems, a lot of hardware like NVIDIA boards in hard computer machines, as well as in partnership with supercomputers, where we can train those algorithms much faster. So in that regard, it's helping us to provide more complete products. Although internally, I'm not an example because we have prohibited to ask anything inputting any code to AI or request AI any code developing software, as we typically work with private customers, but also defense. So in that regard, I might not be an example of the use of AI, but we are creating a lot of products, whether it's for image recognition, that is very well-known application of AI. So characterizing objects. We might not be in SATCOM, but it's a space-related activity as well. Also, understanding the space domain, and also understanding signals. So being able to characterize signals, being able to improve, being able to enhance the teleport environment and challenges. And if there is any challenge, why is this challenge? What is the cause of it? And how can we fix it? In real time or manually, but giving the tools for a fully remote and unmanned teleport. As the industry is extremely cost sensitive, but also AI doesn't only save cost, it also managed to streamline processes, and it also managed to make us much more effective as an industry to compete with disruptors. So in that regard, I wanted to leave that.
Yes, competing with the disruptors, the theme for 2024, 2025, 2026. I want to just pick up a couple of the comments that I heard in that, because I think they were very interesting. One of the things that really struck me for many of you is that you are using AI in ways that are extremely critical to either your services, to whether your customers get a straight answer about something, because of course we've all been exposed to lots of bad software. So how are you dealing with that internally in terms of quality control over what happens inside of that black box? And Cynthia, let me ask you, because ST Engineering I Direct develops technology every day, and we'll start with you.
Sure. I think for us, it starts really, I referenced it briefly. We have for a while now been developing code in a CI/CD environment, continuous improvement, continuous delivery or deployment. And as we push code to a commit state, it automatically triggers an automated testing procedure and process that we use. And by utilizing some of the machine learning tool sets, we're able to do, we're checking for any anomaly that may occur in those testing routines. We're also because we have been doing this for a long time, we have a series of data sets that allow us to do predictive analytics. As certain parameters may be triggered, it is alerting that testing procedure to look for other potential faults that may occur. So even from a software development perspective, we have implemented an automated testing procedure that allows us to take advantage of some of the machine learning and AI capabilities that have evolved over time. We also, I'll say from the customer interaction perspective, we too, like many have mentioned, right, have explored how to use virtual assistants, chatbots to help that user interface, that user experience be just as streamlined as possible and getting to the information that the customer wants and needs. And that has not always been the case with all of our platforms. But with the release of our latest Intuition platform back at Satellite 2024, it has been architected to support making data available, not just accessible, but extractable. And I'm sure as we progress the conversations, we're going to have lots of discussion about just data strategy, data lakes, and just making sure that the data is accessible. And historically, that has not always been the case in my portion of the fulfillment chain. So we're very excited about the future and our new platform in facilitating the use of some of the latest technologies, especially with AI.
Yeah, it's interesting, of course, because we're talking about everything we're talking about is about curated data, right? This is your own internal data that you're working from, so you eliminate a lot of problems. But Frank, you mentioned how much work you're doing in this area. Similar story in terms of the rigor of testing?
It's a little different because we don't develop software or a product. We develop solutions, right? So my view is I mean, our core focus is customer intimacy. So we actually don't deploy it in interaction with our customers because often our customers are coming to us for the art of the possible. So for lack of a better term, they're showing up. We have a whiteboard in the old days, and you go for 2 hours, and at the end of it, you have an illegible mess of stuff that's on the whiteboard. What we found is, and I don't know who quoted it, but the idea is saying don't be scared of AI, taking your job. Be scared of people who use AI taking your job. And that's really where it applies in our case is when you're an art of the possible company, the ability to quickly model and show and essentially, if you use the analogy of a physical product, spin a product in 3D dimensions and view it with the customer and kind of go, is this what you want? And they're like, well, sort of. The creative mind that it actually fosters to bring out because of the speed of interaction is probably more what we focus on. To your comment about the data set, that's absolutely critical. So you can't develop solutions that you do not have data to. And when I look at the WTA membership, one of the things that the WTA membership does is they've been very used to being sort of closed in their own group. And it's a question of now you almost need to get the data out so that, whether it be a platform such as SDE or Alvaro as a side of it, the data gets out, it gets into the platforms, it then gets to me as solutions, right? So having those data models is key, but to us, it's speed of development I never thought I'd say this a few years ago. I probably should have been one of our students, but the idea of saying that the quality of solution, because of the breadth of the things that we can look at, has really improved.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Thank you. That's some good insight. I want to just then pivot to something that Alvaro very, very briefly referenced, which is he's got certain customers who don't really want any AI around, thank you, and they happen to work in the defense community. So we just explore that a little bit? This is an issue that because of course the military has become now a massive buyer. I mean, it's always been a massive buyer, but as other kinds of applications are drying up to some extent, it's becoming more and more important. So what is and of course we're talking about multiple nations with multiple militaries and their own rules, but what in general is the concern that you're hearing from your defense customers?
Well, it would be surprised. There are some defense customers that really want to encourage AI, and some defense customers that don't. But what it is more important is that any engine is on-prem, so they are not trusting anyone to, besides of providing data as a sensor, they don't want anyone to compute their data. So in that regard, what we see is that that AI needs to be hosted on-prem, and that AI many times shouldn't be done as a service. So in that regard, we provide on-prem systems that are pure CapEx, and we don't need to charge. So that's pretty secure for a government user, and I think a good way to go. In the data question, some of our products are trained by our own data and also synthetic data. So one of the beautiful things about AI is that you can create synthetic data to train those, and this will accelerate significantly the product development phase because obtaining real data is very difficult. By creating that data synthetically is allowing you to train the machines much stricter and have the products super reliable without the need of gathering information from those products that you deploy. So I cannot use the government data to train my own product because I have no connectivity. I won't. So in that regard, I need to train that kind of products with synthetic data, and I can create, I can automate, and then also test. So that our company was founded 34 years ago doing test beds. So as Cynthia mentioned very well, AI can be used for testing your own systems. So as a typical test bed with very many racks we used to be then, but now it's a much tactical or a small footprint test bed that allows you to make sure that whatever worked before continues to work, and only things is improve one way.
I love your reference to synthetic data because, of course, out in the world of the internet and Gen AI, data scientists are worried about the fact that as AI makes up more stuff on the internet, it's going to actually feed a loop where it will become less and less accurate because it's making up its own stories. It's sort of like, that dream you have in the middle of the night after you had too much to drink. Michelle, I cut you off while you were talking about some of the specific things that your company was doing, and I want to just ask you, obviously, you're using this very aggressively to accelerate innovation. I'm not going to ask you a testing question because your company is a software company, and I'm sure that you test like mad. What I want to ask is, what have you learned in this process, positive and negative, about where AI is a good fit, where it's going to accomplish something that makes business sense for you and also meets a customer need? And where have you found situations where you're thinking, it's not really an appropriate path to follow?
Yeah, in fact, we identified several paths. And first of all, I have to say that concerning development of codes, this is somewhere that we are not using artificial intelligence due to security, because in fact we are dealing with some defense and markets, and for the level of security accreditation, etc. Of course, it's totally prohibited to use artificial intelligence to develop codes. That's the first point to be totally clear. But for testing and validation, this is where, in fact, you can use artificial intelligence to automatize testing, validation, and in order to produce good results. This is one area. But we also, and Cynthia was speaking about orchestration, and this is, of course, as OSS, BSS, this is something extremely important. This is really the kernel of what we offer to our customers. And then now with artificial intelligence, we can propose, I must say, more intelligent orchestration. And this is somewhere, and thanks also to the API, the open API, MEF interface, TM forum, we have the possibility also to interface with other networks, and thanks to artificial intelligence, to optimize solutions for our customers. Then this is always what we are looking for, is to offer better solution for our customers, but that must be very simple for them to use. Then, in fact, they do not see really artificial intelligence, but they see the results, and the result is an improved service quality and easy to use platform. This is really our goal, and this is also concerning security. I come again there because this is a major concern, and typically we develop also our fully secured platform, where in fact we use artificial intelligence in order to detect all abnormal behavior of the customers and raise an alarm and to block those abnormal and dangerous behavior of customers. This is another area where artificial intelligence is also very, very, very powerful. Then, yeah, this is thing, and also business analysis, because in fact, because our OSS BSS, we are doing the billing and everything related to the business. Then this is something where we are producing data that can be analyzed by artificial intelligence. They can then give some trends and some also probably also some recommendation, I must say, in term of business and business opportunities. But this is more for the long term. This is something that okay we consider for the future, but this is not really for today.
Well,
Yeah.
let me ask you. I mean, I'm thinking about people who may be listening to us, for whom, you know, they're doing some work, but they're sort of they're not as far advanced as you four are. Have you tried things that didn't work? I'm always interested in sharing. It's like we thought we'd do this, and it just didn't really. It didn't turn out to be a sensible use of our resources. It didn't go the way we wanted it to go. Are there lessons learned that you might be able to share? And I'm going to ask this of everybody, but we'll start with you, Michelle. You might be able to share with the people who are listening and watching us.
Uh, yes, we are testing different IDs, and it's clear that some of the IDs are not really relevant for artificial intelligence. Then, yeah, but for the time being, we are just. But sometimes it's difficult to say why it's not working well, because this is sometimes because we do not have the data to make the training, and this is because to get the high quality data that we need, this is sometimes quite easy and then working well, but sometimes it's very difficult, and then the result are not very high quality. And this is and another point is also that artificial intelligence can sometimes produce some very I must say inadequate results, and this is something where we have to be very careful before going in production, because could create real trouble. Then for the time being, it's sometimes what I'm saying is difficult to say if it's not because it's fitting really to the goal, or because the training is not well done, mainly because lack of data. That's the point where we are now.
It sounds like showing up for your doctor and saying, "Listen, I've got this pain in my stomach, but I don't quite know why," and the doctor doesn't know either. So, Alvaro, you were raising your hand. I think you want to contribute something.
One of the things that we have found out recently is that there are thousands of companies that approach you, or at least I get approached by every week saying, we are encouraging AI for the companies, and we manage for you to improve all your pains. And we have discussed with multiple of them in order to see if we can subcontract at least some parts of our business to any company. But typically, they do a pilot that works about 25 to 50% of the time, and this is not really reliable. So and we typically end up doing this ourselves, and that development, which is not efficient for timing. But the thing is, AI cost a lot of money. So that's what we discovered. So the personnel cost a lot of money. The hardware required cost a lot of money, and the data costs money too. So in that regard, it's I was teaching business plans in AI, and I didn't see how much money I needed to expend for bringing a lot of AI into the company, which is curious. But anyway, it's
I can sum that up. So you're going to pick the high quality problem, the problem that has got a lot of money attached to it, either revenue or lost revenue, potentially.
but we learn from the mistakes. Otherwise, many times we don't learn. So in that regard, that's a learning curve, and I'm happy to share that learning experience that I have. And once you get there are not many people there. It's pretty advanced, similar to cloud. Cloud few years back as well. So cloud personnel is expensive. Cloud resources are expensive, and many of those AIs require cloud as well. So in that regard, there is a mixture of expenses that you need to think very well how to rentabilize. So if you buy already a technology, it's a product, it works. But if you are thinking on building it yourself, also make sure that you budget it adequately, because you spend a lot and it takes time. So those are the vectors.
Everything moves to the right and costs more.
Yeah.
Cynthia, so
Yeah, I was just gonna
you're talking
agree
about
with.
how AI is infiltrating every single part of your organization. So you must be spending a lot of money.
I was gonna agree with Alvaro. To venture down the path of incorporating ML and AI internally and externally, it is an investment, and I think we've had to do so judiciously, and we do evaluate different use cases, both again internally and externally, for the greatest return on investment. And that return on investment, especially when we're talking about what may get productized in our intuition platform, we really try to focus in on the value that it creates for our customers. Because again, it is new technology that it is completely natural to be somewhat resistant, maybe a little skeptical, especially when you're talking about taking a LLM or a learning model that may not have extensive data sets to learn from. Again, because of where we are at in the fulfillment chain, we don't deliver a service. So the learning models that we use, we are, like Alvaro said, also using simulated data. And for those learning models to improve in the quality of the response, the recommendation, the prediction, you need greater data sets. And that's where we really try to work as proactively as possible with our customers, understanding the sensitivity of their network data. We need to anonymize it such that we can utilize it to help the model improve, to output greater results, more valuable results. But it's a very iterative process. But completely agree, it is an investment and it should not be taken lightly. I will say,
I was just going to say, it
the
also
last,
like as this is not new for our industry, but it sounds as like this is really a team sport. This is a partnership sport. You've got to be working with a whole bunch of people outside your organization as well as inside.
Absolutely. And again, it all depends upon where you're at in the fulfillment chain. But for what we do and the products and services that we bring to market, because we don't deliver a managed service downward to an end user, we need to rely on our customers to help us refine those models, and also to help us be sure that we are making the right data available. Again, it has to be accessible and extractable in a meaningful form so that you can use it, and use it with models that can only improve by greater and greater data sets.
Yeah, but fortunately, I must say that we can be helped by cloud providers. Typically, Amazon, for example, they are providing models that are pre-existing, and you can train them. You can, and this is for us very helpful because, okay, of course they explain the model. They can guide you to the different models, and I must say this is also something helping for progressing faster.
That's really good. Thank you. That's a really good insight. Frank, I want to ask you, okay, so the paths taken that didn't necessarily work out, the lessons learned along the way, when you're in the art of the possible, you got to kiss a lot of frogs and not all of them turn into princes.
Yeah, that's a great statement. I think in our case, I mean, we're heavily defense oriented, but also heavily critical enterprise oriented. So we have an overriding data security, content security requirement, right? We have a separation that needs to exist because, of course, we have to make sure that our customers' content is not being mined for the sake of an AI aspect. So lessons learned. Like everything that comes in technology, the buzzword becomes overwhelming, and it somehow is applied to everything, right? I think the word tool was used earlier in the session. I think that's the best and simplest way to look at it. It is a tool that has to be used and interpreted. The discernment that you still have to have, do not have the idea of absolute trust, because the learning models, you have to know the basis of the learning models to know what the result is, and you have to have that. And we're in a little different situation in the cost scenario to the developers here that are, because we actually can use AI at a relatively lower cost level, because we're using it to find data models that are already in the public domain and then seeing whether they're relevant to us. So it actually has vastly increased our speed of research. The downfall, and particularly for those of us that have been in the satellite industry forever, the downfall is where most of the satellite industry's previous histories and previous technologies inherently not available in AI models. And when we build, I mean, our new product line, service line is the Argus Secure Networks, secure transport networks for content to flow across. There's parts of our industry that are missing out of that equation. And when I mentioned speed to market before, if you're not part of that model, so you're kind of missing out. So I would say that the big takeaway is data or content curating, right? What do you want in your company to go into an AI model, and what do you need in AI models to make your models better? And so there has to be a level of discernment, and those are still decisions that so far humans are making. Discernment is one of the characteristics of our biological form, I guess. And data discernment and data security is key. So not everything gets dumped into an AI model, and not everything that comes out of an AI model should be dumped into your product. I think that's the easiest way for me to say lessons learned. And being a company that deals with very sensitive data, firewalls between those types of things, and the discernment of that is critical to us.
One of the major consulting companies a long time. Remember when E dash whatever it was a thing? I guess e-commerce was, and they had a great ad that just showed a spray can with the letter E on it and said, "Okay, this is all you need. Just spray E on it." And I thought, yeah, we're getting close to the end, and what I want to sort of finish with is the issue. We've raised this issue that, okay, it's expensive, it's complex, you have to exercise a lot of discernment, you have to know what it is you're trying to accomplish. Where are you going to get the best return on the money you're spending? And again, I realize we have different companies in different parts of the ecosystem, but for each of you, where are you seeing the best payoff from the time and energy and work that goes into creating this? And Michelle, let's start with you.
It's a difficult question because for the time being, nothing is finalized, and it's difficult to know what will be the result in the future. But we have some expectation. The easiest, of course, is the chatbot. So this is quite obvious. It's very simple to implement, and then this is okay. We already see some return on investment. That's good. Also, some pre-sales bot, as I said, this is not very complicated. Then also quite a good return. Now, okay, the other point is concerning the infrastructure, the surveillance of an infrastructure. This is something that we are entering, and also difficult to predict the return. In fact, the return will be, of course, a better network, less downtime, etc. But how to translate this in money, this is something very difficult to say, because we already have a very high level of availability. Then then difficult to predict. But we think that yes, traffic analysis and also dynamic network optimization, this is more for the future, and this is somewhere, okay, we are starting also to have some ideas and to have some discussion with partners. Then okay, this is what we anticipate, because because we think the future is there and we have to go there, but it's too early. Concerning security, also, this is somewhere that we think that we can have a quite good return in terms of cybersecurity improvement, and also cyber SOC operations. This is where we can probably have better efficiency. Then okay, this is good. Okay, this is, but I think it's a little bit too early to answer completely to your question, Robert. I'm very sorry about that, but
No.
it's not black and white. It's not. Yeah, we are still in the early phases. Then not easy to answer. Sorry.
If you were a factory owner in the early part of the 20th century, and I asked you how much it was going to save you, or what the value would be of putting electric motors instead of steam engines into your factory, you would look at me and say, "I have no idea in the world." So yeah, and yet it turned out to be pretty good, didn't it? I want to just flip over, Alvaro, just hang on, don't forget what you're saying. I just want to flip over to Cynthia, because you're not in the service delivery business, you are in the equipment that does the service delivery business. And so you're probably going to have a different answer.
Yeah, I think internally, our greatest return on investment has been on the typical, efficiency side, whether that comes in our test automation process, which benefited significantly, right? The quality of the code, just having greater confidence in that testing procedure and identifying any potential faults. I also think internally on the customer service side, that has been an area that we have been able to leverage the tool sets to help improve our customer experience, which sometimes is not quantifiable in dollars and cents. It's that intrinsic value that a happier customer brings to you long term. I think from a product perspective, in what we put in market. Because we're still in the development side, I too, like Michelle, am not sure that I can identify a specific use case that we feel may be the greatest value for our customer and therefore provide them a good return on investment. Yeah, I don't have a use case that I can say, give you a specific KPI
That is just
that our
fine.
customers have been able to achieve.
There's a reason they call this a foundational technology, because it touches all and you look back 10 years later and go, oh my goodness, but right now it's hard to tell. Alvaro.
So I think maybe because I was working on this for a few years, we managed to develop technologies and to sell these technologies. So AI has generated us business, a business that we did not have, that is farther than the automation that we did have, and also bringing machine learning algorithms that it's new, but it is exciting. So it has brought us business, and yes, an expense, but also differentiator with competition, bringing more value, more integrated solutions, and we are extremely appreciative and proud to work with these three distinguished panelists and companies that we appreciate very much the work together and with APIs built in that they can integrate and that they can do things together in that regard, which is not completely AI, but it is machines and machines talking together, which at the end, each one can have its own intelligence behind. But I think it's a good use cases on how AI can bring us all together, industry as well as teleports in that regard. So I wanted to appreciate that from the panelists today.
Okay, well, I want to give the last word to Frank, but a question just came in at the last minute, which was, this is going to be an interesting one. Can you offer a specific example, any of you, on successfully using AI for cyber? And I'm laughing because typically if you ask anybody any question about cyber, the answer is, well, yeah, sure, I have one, but I can't tell you.
We,
I'll try to actually capture that. I did not plant this question, but it was actually going to use my one of my examples. So when I talked about the art of the possible and using AI to do it, and where's the return, I kind of agree with Alvaro. It's in our case, it's not a question of cost savings. It's about capability that it's bringing, and therefore, what's the opportunity for that capability. So if you can develop a better solution, or you can develop something, in our case, that whiteboard that the customer really is looking for, it's providing us opportunity, sales opportunities, a revenue opportunity. So to pull it to this one, we have a case where the security surrounding, say, a particular airframe program, i.e. sustainment and maintenance of aircraft, is although not necessarily considered cyber all the time, has huge cyber elements to it because of the sheer amount of people. An aircraft is a good definition of a connected device that you do not really want to have fall into somebody else's hands, i.e., whether it be engine sustainment, whether it be there's so many different people that are involved in sustaining it. So we did use AI in the idea to create, with that idea of synthetic models and such, saying, hey, give us a typical scenario of aircraft sustainment program, from the engines to the airframe techs to the avionics that are on board and what have you. And what it really allowed us to do was establish and understand the threat surface from a cyber standpoint, from a secure network standpoint of that aircraft program. So what we did is we pulled on the collective knowledge of the world, if you will, of all of their aircraft programs, had it spin it into a model that we could actually identify vulnerabilities. We don't use AI inside the content of those secure confines for the exact reason that Alvaro said. If we did, the AI would have to be contained inside that encapsulated container. But we do use it for the idea of really establishing threat analysis on some of those larger programs like that, where it's not just the threat of cyber, but physical, transport, and cyber threats all put together. And then the idea that protecting data and protecting access is huge. And if you can reduce your threat surface in cyber, that's one of your #1 goals to tackle a cyber problem, is reduce your attack surface.
I'm actually thrilled to think that something can actually be done about cyber, because right now, you know, as soon as the specialist explained to me that the #1 cyber threat, the attack surface, is me, I thought, well, we're in trouble. But thank you, Frank. That's a very good specific example. It's not unlike a doctor turning to AI to come up with some ideas about what's wrong with this patient. I mean, it's very, very powerful. We have to, unfortunately, bring ourselves to a close here. I hope that the audience has enjoyed this as much as I have. A lot of things illuminated that most of the time are just glossed over in discussions of AI. So I really want to thank all of you for sharing your expertise and your insights on this. All right, so we have been hearing from Frank Zullo, President of Network Innovations Advanced Networks, from Michelle Dothie, I should say, excuse me, Chief Commercial Officer at Nexat, from Cynthia Hardy, SVP for Corporate Strategy at ST Engineering iDirect, and Alvaro Sanchez, the CEO and founder of Integrasys. Looking forward, just would appreciate it if you take a moment to fill out the online survey after this webinar. Your feedback does help us make it better from time to time, from session to session, I should say. Please don't forget to download well, you can go to the WTA website and buy the entire report, or if you're a member, receive it for free. And you can also get the executive summary right here in the chat. Okay, so coming up for WTA, we'll be putting on some programming at PTC 2025 out in Hawaii, and then, of course, joining everybody else in the industry for Satellite 2025, March 10 to 13th. And coming up from our own programs, we're going to be publishing in November a report on ground segment for the very high throughput satellite generation, which is, of course, going to produce, I think Cynthia mentioned it, but it's going to produce revolutions in what goes on in space. Well, the ground is going to have to keep up. And so that's going to be an interesting discussion. And then in February, we'll be looking at the DVB NIP revolution. There's a new standard from DVB that is trying to give satellite a leg up in its ability to do native streaming across ground-based networks. And we'll see what teleport operators and their colleagues are doing with that to build and maintain their competitiveness in a very challenging market. So again, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing you for our next webinar. And thanks again to our panelists.